Hello, welcome back. What a month. This is a good month. It's a good month to be me. In terms of reading. Well, I guess actually no, I had a good month. I had a good time this month. So let's talk about it. I'm gonna do my best to get through this quick because I wrote down notes here and there's a lot of notes. So I'm gonna try to just touch on things and move on, but we'll see how I do. Same as we did last month, I'm gonna talk a little bit about the books that I read this month, the books that I plan on reading next month, and then a little bit of channel stats and kind of how the channel's been doing. And then a little bit at the end of plans for the channel, future plans for the channel, if anything's changing, what that might be, and just stuff like that. There's one small change that I'm going to make to the format of this video, and that is just that I'm also going to be talking about the games that I've played, and if there's any games that I plan on playing in this next month, I'll mention that as well. So let's get into it. We can start with the first book that I finished this month, Wistful Ascending. This book I talked a little bit about in my last wrap-up video in September, because I was almost finished with it then. So I did finish it at the beginning of this month, and it continued to be great. Everything that I said about it then was true all the way through. The reveals at the end were very fun. The character development was great. The story in general was just fun all the way through. I think if you like space and if you're into sort of super powered humans, not necessarily superheroes, which is always a fun kind of play on super powered things, I think you'd really like this. It's pretty funny, but also action packed. Sam Harrison, who recommended this book, he would say it's not a very thinky book. It's more dewy. It's just things are happening the whole way through. There were actually a little bit, a few parts in it that did feel like a little bit of filler and a little bit of, I was just kind of like, all right, let's move along. But those were few and far between, and for the most part, it was just full force fun. So definitely excited to continue that series. I don't think it'll be for a couple months now, but I will absolutely pick up book 2 and then hopefully continue on from there. I think Sam said that book 1 is the weakest, so that's exciting because I thought it was great. The next book that I finished is again one that I talked about in the last video. This is a book by one of my favorite authors, and this is a book that I had put off reading for quite some time because it is quite chunky. Ross and Laura over at Hardy's Books were doing a buddy read for it over the span of 2 months, and so that was my motivation to pick it up, and that is Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. The book was fantastic. I still haven't wrapped my head around my full thoughts on how the book was, or not how the book was, because the book was, like I said, fantastic, but I can't figure it out. I can't figure out my full feelings. I think I currently have it at like a 4.5. It could lean a little towards the 4. It could lean a little towards the 5. I'm not really sure. It was so good. For me, my distinction between a 4 and a 5 is kind of who would I recommend this to, and the 5 would be that I would recommend this to absolutely everyone. And with Piranesi, the other book that I've read by Susanna Clarke, I would absolutely recommend that book to anybody on this planet, and I've bought that book for people, and I've gifted that to people. I've had several people borrow it. It is currently in somebody else's hands because I lent it out to somebody very recently. Would I do that for Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell? I don't know, and that is in large part due to the size, because this is a massive book. I've read larger, but the pages feel thin, and the text is not large, and the margins aren't large. So like there's a lot of words on all these pages. The copy that I have is about 850 pages long, and like I said, they're jam-packed with words, and so I know that's intimidating for people. So I don't know if everybody would get into it, but I would push it on just about anybody, especially if you've read another book by Susanna Clarke, like Piranesi. Not that it's really all that similar, but her writing style is just so magical. There's something about it that just draws you in. It's like a little whimsical, it's a little witty, but it's also, there's just so much interesting stuff going on. And I'm like, how does your brain come up with these things? This book is also definitely jam-packed with footnotes. There are footnotes on not every page. There's a lot of footnotes. There's definitely footnotes in every chapter, and the footnotes are I think all interesting, and most are kind of critical to the story. Maybe not critical, maybe you don't need them, but they add a lot. And I would recommend reading all of them if you're reading the book. And some of them are so good. One of them is really long, and it's just this really fun little short story that is just in the middle of the book. And that's how a lot of them feel. They feel like just kind of short stories. Some of them are just like, this is who this person is. This is who they're talking about. But some of them really, they have a short story feel to them. But again, they add a lot. I'm not going to go too much more in depth on my feelings on this book because, one, again, I haven't really wrapped my head around it. And two, I don't want to take away from the discussion that's going to happen on Hardy's books about this book soon. I sadly won't be able to join them in it, but a bunch of other creators are going to be sitting down with Ross and Laura of Hardy's books and talking through their thoughts, going through in heavy detail what this book is. So I will instead be redirecting you to that video, which doesn't yet exist, but it will, and it's going to be so good. And just to shout them out just one more time, the people over at Hardy's Books did a fantastic buddy read of this book. It was very well structured. It was very well organized. Ross had already read through the book, and so he was able to give us kind of the stopping points and checkpoints of where to read until, and then we would discuss kind of in their fable on Andrew Watson's Discord channel. And then they were putting out a video talking about that chunk. Ross and Laura reading it really for the first time. She had read some of it, DNF'd it, and then this was her first time really going through the story. So it was really well done. There was a lot to it. A lot of work went into it. And so thank you to Ross and Laura for putting on, again, such a good buddy read and for getting me and so many other people to read this book. It was fantastic. I followed up Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell with 2 more volumes of One Piece. That's volumes 13 and volume 14. I said in our last wrap up last month that I think something happened in volume 12, and I think the story is really just about to start. And I do think that I was correct. Volume 13 was really good, and volume 14 as well. They were both just a little more of what I was looking for. They're showing a little more of the weird of this world, which is what I wanted to get to. We've had a lot of weird in this series already, but there were just some really cool characters with an interesting backstory, and they were on this really cool island. And I can't go into any more detail really because, again, we're 13, 14 volumes into a huge series at this point, so I don't want to spoil anything. If you are around this point and you're not sure how you feel, like how I was, I would encourage you to continue forward through to this point at least, because I feel like I'm solidified as somebody who wants to continue through the series now. So those were great. Again, not going to say too much more about them because of spoilers, but I am now officially having a good time in One Piece. The most recent book that I read, which I finished an hour ago, is Between Two Fires. Christopher Bjornman Can Do No Wrong. This was so good. This is my 3rd book by this author, and I can't speak highly enough of his work. Again, I've only read 3 of his books, but I don't think he has too much more that he's published, at least. But I am definitely going to be working my way through the rest of his catalog, and he's absolutely an author that I think you should be on the lookout for. I think you should pick up either Between Two Fires or Black Tongue Thief and just dive right in. Between Two Fires, if you want more of a horror story kind of set here on Earth, but with angels and demons, and it's definitely got a lot of religious themes throughout it, but I would say not to let that turn you away from it if that's not your thing. He does it so well. It almost feels a little bit like how I imagine The Witcher would feel to read, like a little bit of Monster of the Week at some points in it, where they're walking along and they see something crazy. So it was really cool. The action was great, but the characters that he introduces are also unique characters. I guess it's sort of found family maybe, or, you know, it's like just a group of three unlikely people that bond and go on like this journey together. And it was so good. It was so good. I mentioned Black Tongue Thief too. That's a very different book that I read at a very different time. That's just more like fun. It reads almost like a D&D campaign. It just great book. Very different tonally to this book, although there are some dark things for sure in that book too. But it's definitely has a different feel. And I am saying that you should read Black Tongue Thief, and I'm not pointing out Daughter's War only because I think you should read Black Tongue Thief before Daughter's War. Although for me, Daughter's War hit even harder. I love that book. I think that's still my number one book of the year. But Between Two Fires, again, was fantastic. A great place to jump in if you're curious about this author. I feel like I want to do... I said this last month about Monstrilio, but I feel like I want to do a review of this book at some point. I don't know if I'll get to it this month. I am also just considering like a review of Christopher Buehlman and talking about all three books that I've read of his. We'll see. So good. I also read a couple of short stories this month. I read my first Edgar Allan Poe short story, which sounds crazy because he's... I don't know, that's such a name, but I read Telltale Heart by Edgar Allan Poe, and I thought it was great. It was really creepy, really short. It's one of those stories where you read it and you're like impressed by how much he was able to do with so few words. And then I also read Evil Robot Monkey by Mary Robinette Kowal, not sure how you pronounce it, but also incredibly short. I think it came out to like 3 pages at most, more questions than answers, but I think in a really good way. That was a good one. I would definitely recommend checking out both of those if you're into short stories, even if you're not into short stories, because I haven't typically read a ton of them, but I'm getting more into that. We'll talk about that in a second. So those were really great. And then games that I've played, I played and put out a video on 1,000-Year-Old Vampire, which if you want to hear my full thoughts on this, there's a video for you. But to summarize that video, it's really good. This is a great game. It's like a journaling, creative writing kind of RPG. So you take the role of a vampire and you kind of chronicle their life, their very long life, from kind of inception of their undead state to their death. Really, really good. If you haven't played anything like this, I think this is a great place to start as far as like these creative writing, journaling type RPGs go. Highly recommend. Had a really good time playing that one a few times. And another board game that I played this month that I did not talk about on the channel is Harvest. This is just the lid of the box, but this game I played just once so far. I'm considering making a video on this maybe this month. We'll see. I'm not 100% sure, but it was really cool. A little bit of worker placement, a little bit of like kind of space management. You plant crops in like your garden, and those crops are in the form of these like tetromino kind of pieces, and so you have to like position them in your field in the most optimal way so that when you harvest them you get the most out of it. Anyway, I might talk more about that. It was really fun. I liked it a lot. I have to get a few more playthroughs under my belt before I can feel confident to talk about it, or even in the fact that I want to talk about it. So we'll see, but that was really good. If you're interested in hearing about it, let me know. Overall, really good month. Like I said, these were great books. I would highly recommend every single one of them, and the games that I played as well were really good. I haven't had a month this good in terms of reading in... It feels like a very long time, so I feel very good about that. I'm very, very pleased. Next month is going to look a little bit different. Next month, I am planning on getting caught up on Brandon Sanderson, finally. Well, not fully. I have 3 Brandon Sanderson books to go before I am Cosmere complete. I have 1 Brandon Sanderson book that I absolutely have to read before his newest book comes out, and then I have another 2 that are kind of, they feel more optional, but I do want to read them, but I don't know that I will read them before I get to Wind and Truth, which is coming out in December. But this month I am absolutely going to be reading all of Rhythm of War, which is the currently the latest book in Stormlight Archives. I am very excited to get back into this world and see these characters again. I've heard middling things about the book, honestly, from from multiple sources, so I'm not 100% sure that this will be the greatest reading experience, but I'm very excited. We'll see how I feel. And when I finish that, I might pick up Sunlit Man. We'll see. I'm not sure. It depends. Maybe Sunlit Man is more of a requirement than I think it is before reading Wind and Truth. So we'll see. I'll have to do some digging. If it is, then obviously I will try to slip that in before I get to Wind and Truth, but we'll see, because I do want to read that kind of as soon as I get my hands on it. I'm very excited. Rhythm of War, of course, being a Stormlight Archives book, is massive. This is, if you don't know, the UK publisher has him split this book into 2 parts because they're so massive. So it will definitely take me at least the full month. I'm hoping just the full month. I have not yet read one of these Stormlight Archives books in under a month. So really, that is my only formal plan for the month. I will definitely be reading that on audio as well as physically reading it. So I'm hoping that I can chip away at that one and not have it bleed into December. Anytime that I have outside of that will definitely be primarily going towards a friend of mine's alpha read for their book. I'm not going to say who, because I don't know that they've made it public and it's not my news to share. So I'm reading something for somebody else, and so far it's very good. I've made slow progress because I never sit down to physically read something these days, but I'm definitely going to be chipping away at that whenever I can. I have it on my Kindle, and it's been really good. Really quick read too, so that's great. I'm hoping to get through that this month, as well as Rhythm of War, just kind of slipping it in whenever I do sit down to read at night or anything like that. I'll also be reading volume 15 of One Piece. Like I said, I enjoyed 13 and 14 a lot. I still have 15 out from the library. It's due back in like a week or two, so I will be getting that in this month as well, pretty early on. If by some miracle I finished all 3 of those things, there are a couple other things that I've had on my TBR that are, again, really short reads. One Punch Man. I thought I was current on One Punch Man, and then I looked at the shelf and I have one that I haven't read. So these take me one sitting to read, so I will probably fit that in if I can. I also have Joker. This is a comic book. It's very short. Again, this is like probably a one sitting read through. That would be a nice one to chop off the TBR. And I also have volume 2 or like book 2 of Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. This one I just want to read more of so that I can decide if I want to just DNF this series. I love the Scott Pilgrim vs. the World movie, and then I started reading through this last year, I think, and it just wasn't as good. It's a little different. It's a little weird. Somehow the pacing feels really choppy. Like you'll turn the page, something completely different's happening, and I'm not always able to put the pieces together and figure out like how we got from point A to point B. Sometimes I feel like I missed a page, and I'll turn back and forth like several times and realize that no, I didn't. That's just how it was written. So I don't know that I love this so far. I might be just DNFing this. We'll see. I want to make my determination this month or next month maybe. And that's pretty much it. Again, the 100% focus for the first bit will be Rhythm of War and also One Piece, just because I have that has to go back to the library. And then the rest are all bonuses. If I can get to them, I will get to them. I'm very excited for all of them. So we'll see what happens. Along with all of that, I started a class, like it's kind of more of a writing workshop, and in that I'm going to be reading a lot of short stories. So maybe I'll talk about the short stories that I'm reading at the end of the class, which would be sometime in December. So we'll see. Let me know if you're interested in that. Also, if you have any short stories that you recommend me reading, let me know that too, because I am on the lookout for more short stories that I can kind of submit to the class as suggested reading material. I haven't read a ton of short stories, so I could use all the help I can get. And I don't really have any games planned other than playing through Harvest a few more times. So nothing really to say for this chunk, but I am hoping to play through that a couple more times, like I said, and potentially if I feel like I like it enough, then I would be making a game video on that. Otherwise, I do want to put out a board game video again this month. So that might just be one of my favorite games that I own, or maybe just like a tour of the shelves or a ranking of the games that I have or something like that, some sort of listicle kind of video. If you have any curiosities about the board games that I like to play, let me know. Maybe I'll tailor the video around that. So that's it. That's the month I had, the month that I am planning on having, and now let's talk about how the channel's doing. I filmed in a new spot this month. I filmed over by the board game shelves because I made a new kind of video this month. The video for the 1,000-Year-Old Vampire, my first game-related video. I had a lot of fun with that video, not only playing the game, which was really great, but making the video itself I thought was really cool. I got to do a lot of B-roll. I got to film in a new spot. I got to, talk about playing a game for the first time on this channel. It was really great. I had a lot of fun with it. People seemed to enjoy it, which is also an extra bonus. There were a lot of comments from people saying that they thought the game sounded great, which is really fun to start getting those conversations going around games. So that was great. I had a lot of fun. If you have watched that and you have any feedback, let me know. I'm very excited to make another board game related video this month. The channel has continued to grow. At the end of September, we had 59 subscribers, and now here at the end of October, we're at 95, which is awesome. That's really great growth. I'm very thankful to all of you who clicked that button. I also saw on the analytics page that about half of the people watching these videos are subscribed. I think a little more than half are not subscribed, but that's really cool. It's nice to see that. Didn't know that they put that statistic on the analytics page, and that's just cool to know. If you are in that, I think 54% of people who are watching this and you're not subscribed, consider hitting the button. I'd really appreciate it. I'd love to have you around. If not, that's also fine. We did put out 4 videos this month, and we put out 4 videos last month, and I've been consistently putting out a video a month, which feels good. The views this month were a little all over the place, but all really good, if views are important, but all really good. We had our highest performing video in terms of views, which was my video on the most beautiful books, which is another one that I feel really good about that video. I think that a lot of work went into it, and I think it showed in the video, and I think people enjoyed it. That was like my first kind of tag video other than the BookTube newbie one, and I think that brought a lot of new eyes to the channel, which was really cool. And beyond the views, like I said last month, the comments I think are the best part of this. And that video also generated a ton of conversation, which was really cool. And again, the TBR video, the TBR culling video, I did the part 2 this month. Part 3 will be coming in November. But again, that video also had a ton of comments, really fun, engaging conversation there too about, mistakes that I made, books that I shouldn't have removed, books that I decided to keep, that people told me to get rid of. That was awesome. Keep the comments coming. I love that part of this whole deal. Thank you for participating in those conversations. In terms of other changes that I made this past month, I really tried to figure out the audio, and I think the audio is better. I'm still holding the mic here, but I think I twisted the knobs in a way that everything sounds better. I had one video where I messed something up. I don't know what, but all of the audio sounded very tinny and bad. So Ross of Hardy's Books, again, another shout out to them. They're wonderful people over there, and he offered to run my audio through some program, and it definitely helped a ton. So thank you again, Ross, for that. I really appreciated that. The community here is fantastic. So I was able to just drop a note in a channel saying oops, my audio is terrible this video, and he so quickly was like, oh, just send it over here and I'll fix it for you, and he did, and that was amazing. So again, thank you. But yes, I think the audio has improved. I think also that the video quality has been better. I might have ruined that in this video because I'm trying something new again. The video quality, again, has been really good, but the files were really big. So I messed around with the settings in my camera. My camera is my phone. And we're going to see if this ruins it and I just end up going back to what I was doing, or if this works and the upload is faster. We'll see what happens. I'm not sure. If it's terrible, I apologize. And I will fix that going forward. Last month, I talked about my thumbnails and how I wanted to improve my thumbnails. And I think I did. I think these thumbnails have been better. But then I looked back at the stats that had pointed me in the direction of improving thumbnails, which was my like click-through rate, and they have gone down. So I don't understand anything. I don't know that it actually matters at the end of the day. I am going to continue to try to improve them, but I don't know that click-through rate is all that important. It went down from, I think, 3.6% to a cool 2.5, whatever. I guess I'll just try to keep it in that range. So in summary, how's the channel doing? It's doing good. How am I doing with the channel? I'm doing good in terms of like I'm having fun. I'm still enjoying the conversation. I'm still enjoying the process of making these videos. I definitely want to get better at making them in terms of my own speed, because a couple of those videos last month took hours longer than I would have liked them to, but they were videos that took a lot of work. The beautiful books and the game video, the 1,000-year-old vampire video. Oh, last note on the stats kind of side before I go into future plans for the channel. I just want to mention that my mother has been watching my videos now, and she said that her favorite video was my star rating, and her second favorite video was the beautiful books. So if you haven't watched either of those, this is your sign that my mom says you should watch those. It's funny. It's my highest performing video and my lowest performing video. But whatever, check them out if you haven't yet, because my mom said so. And now real quick, going into channel plans for the future. This will be quick because the plans are to pretty much just keep doing this, keep doing what I'm doing. I think that I like the idea of one of the videos is going to be the wrap up. One of the videos will be the TBR culling series. One video will be a book video, just random book content, and another video will be a board game video. In terms of the book video that I want to make this month, I haven't yet decided if I want to do a tour of my shelves, or if I want to do like a top 10, kind of like my top 10 fantasy books that I've read so far, or top 10 authors that I've read, or just top 10 books, maybe outside of fantasy. Maybe just talk about all the books that I've read in the past few years. If you have like a preference, if you want to know something about my reading habits, let me know. Otherwise, I might do a review this month. I'm not sure if that's in the cards yet for this month. I'm trying to figure out like a structure or like a formula for how I want to develop a review of a book. So I'm thinking about that. I don't know that we'll get one of those this month, but we'll see. If that's what you're into, let me know, and I can prioritize that over like a tour or a top X list. Same kind of thing with games. I think I will be talking about Harvest. If not Harvest, then I'll just be talking about my favorite game, or again, maybe I'll do like a top 10 games in my collection or something like that. Maybe top 10 two-player games, or, whatever, something in that vein. Again, if you have a preference, I would love to tailor this to my audience's likes and away from your dislikes. So let me know what you think. Outside of that, in terms of things that I want to improve, I want to continue focusing on the audio. I want to continue focusing on the video, but I also want to be more careful in my edits. I think there were a couple videos that I was really proud of this month, like the game video and the beautiful books video, where after I put them up, I went back and I rewatched them, and there were a couple things that were like, oh wow, that was a huge mistake, or not a huge mistake, but there was definitely an audio hiccup on it was like 3 times in my game video, which I don't really understand what happened with that. So I have to go back and figure that out. But I think I should have been able to catch that. And then there were a couple times where I left in like 2 versions of me saying the same thing in the final edit. So I want to be a little more careful, maybe make sure that I rewatch the videos in full before I put them up. And again, want to continue to work on my thumbnails. But I'll be honest, thumbnails, my least favorite part of this, and I don't know how much better they're going to get. And that is it. That's it. That's all of it. That's everything that I have to talk about in this video. That is last month wrapped up, next month projected, and yeah, channel stats, channel plans. That's it. That's everything. I thank you so much for participating. If you have subscribed already, I really appreciate it. I know, again, that I am having a good time here, and I really appreciate all the comments on the conversation. It has been very fun kind of getting further ingrained in this community, which was 100% the goal of starting this channel. So feeling like it's all coming together. Thank you again, and I'll see you next week. Bye.